Mao Zedong ruled over China for 25 years. When he died in 1976, the Chinese people were crushed. And even though his policies led to the deaths of millions of his own people, he is still revered in China today. His face is on money, and there are even miniature statues of him in homes from Shanghai to Yangtze, which is the equivalent of New York to LA. But the focus of this is not about Mao Zedong. The focus of this video is about Christmas 1979 at my house. Here I am, roughly 3ish or 4ish years old, still innocent and completely unaware of all the pain my students would one day put me through. For Christmas 1979, I got a Roger Staubach helmet and matching jersey, a G.I. Joe combat action figure with full frogman suit, and some peanut brittle for my great Aunt Hazel. But this video isn't about my great Aunt Hazel's peanut brittle. This video is about the fact that nothing I opened in 1979 was made in China. Yet nearly everything my kids opened for Christmas this year was. How did we get here? How do we go from barely acknowledging that China was even a country to living a life that would not be possible without China? That's what this video is about. Let's go back to Mao for a moment. When Mao ran China, the government owned and ran every business and factory in the country, and it wasn't going well. In 1972, Mao invited Richard Nixon to China in the hopes that he might help Mao make China stronger. The two countries knew nothing about each other and had little in common, but there was one thing they both liked, and to find out what that thing was, we need to watch Forrest Gump. Okay, so this video is less than 10 minutes long, so watching Forrest Gump is out. But there is one scene from the movie that illustrates what brought the United States and China together perfectly, and here it is. Both countries were nuts about ping pong, and the sport was huge in the 70s. When Nixon came to China, he brought the best ping pong players the Americans had, and they played the best the Chinese could offer. Nixon's trip to China really opened the door for the two nations to at least begin talking. Change was not immediate, but the meeting did get the ball rolling. In 1976, Mao dies, and 2 years later, the new chairman of the Communist Party, a man boasting one of the greatest names we'll see all year, Deng Xiaoping, bursts onto the scene. Deng once famously said, "It doesn't matter if a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice." Now this quote tells us more about Deng than the simple fact he obviously owns a lot of cats. It also tells us he wasn't 100% committed to the idea of communism. Proof can be found when he announced an open-door policy where foreign nations could come to China and build factories for the first time. In the early 1980s, Deng pushed change in China a step further by organizing special economic zones in 14 coastal cities, where the Communist Party would allow free enterprise for the first time. The change was incredible. In 1979, 0% of China's GDP came from privately owned businesses, which makes sense considering it was a communist country, and part of being a communist country means the government owns all the means of production. But in just 20 years, China went from 0% of their GDP connected to privately owned businesses to a staggering 75%. In 1999, US President Bill Clinton granted China normal trade relations, which basically meant the United States had agreed to forget all the horrific things the Chinese had done at Tiananmen Square, and the fact they had killed or jailed or sent off to forced labor camps so many people who spoke out against the party. Either way, Clinton's move only increased the flow of Chinese goods into the United States. By 2010, China's economy was growing so fast that they bought more new cars than the United States, which meant they took a title away from us that had been ours for a very long time. Can you just imagine being the best at something forever, only to wake up one day and suddenly you aren't anymore? Also in 2010, the American car company General Motors stopped making Pontiac. Pontiac had always been a popular car brand in the United States. Not to mention it was also the car the Bandit preferred in the legendary Smokey and the Bandit. Historical side note, Smokey and the Bandit was a series of 1980s movies that glamorized lawbreaking, speeding, flannel shirts, and great mustaches. The move by General Motors to stop selling Pontiac was a decision made solely upon the Chinese desire to own and drive Buicks. This meant that, for the first time, an American company had made an important business decision based upon what their Chinese customers wanted. By 2014, China had become the world's largest economy, and today we enjoy the benefit of many Chinese goods in our country. Another big reason we have so many Chinese goods in the United States is the fact there is no minimum wage in China. Couple this with a large workforce, and it means American companies can find people willing to make their products cheaper in China, which has helped American companies and the American consumer, but unfortunately not the American worker. All this takes us back to 1979, and that amazing Christmas from my childhood. And while I'm sure my great aunt's peanut brittle would still taste great had I kept some squirreled away in my closet, the real loss was my G.I. Joe doll, who lost his life at the jaws of Buster, my overzealous Labrador puppy. A move that not only caused me heartache way back in 1979, but still haunts me now, considering that G.I. Joe doll would be worth $300 or $400 today. Thanks again, Buster. Either way, now you know how we came to have so much made in China stuff in our homes. Well, that's it for now. Keep smiling, keep learning, and always keep loving social studies.